Hello, and welcome to Desert Island Discord. Let battle commence. ESG was contrived back in 2004 by the United Nations in an attempt to create a metric that would indicate a company's long-term sustainability. Now, long-term sustainability is important for institutional investors like pension funds when they're building their portfolios. So ESG became a new layer of considerations added by the financial services industry to create investment products that claimed to achieve something other than simply a financial return. The theory was that responsible companies would be more profitable because their virtuous approach to business will attract more customers. Now, DEI is an integral part of ESG, and it has, without doubt, become its most contentious requirement. DEI is designed to make consumers believe that a company is virtuous. But in reality, it's simply an evidence of unconditional loyalty task that companies must now undertake, or risk loss of support from those aforementioned institutional investors. Anyway, a few weeks ago, Mark attended the AGM of one of his holdings, Genuit PLC. Now, rather than use his experience of the meeting for a stock review, we've decided to focus on Genuit's focus on DEI policy, which gave Mark some cause for concern. So let's get started. Good afternoon, Mark.
And good afternoon to you, Paul.
Okay, so tell us about the Genuit AGM.
This was held at their offices in the centre of Leeds. It is a company with a market cap of 650 million, and I was the only shareholder to attend. I've never known this before. The lowest previously was two of us at Ampario, but Genuit at 650 million, it's no minnow. And this is very worrying for the future of annual general meetings, accountability and democracy.
Well, you did ask some general questions about the business, which stands to reason, but your main line of fire was on the topic of DEI. So why was this the cause of discord?
Well, I'm against some of the doctrines within it, like many other private investors, and believe that some of it actually harms societal cohesion and in some forms is actually illegal, whilst also bearing a cost. With Genuit, the degree to which they've put resources into DEI is, well, frankly, over the top.
Right, that's a broad statement, Mark. Can you back that with some evidence?
Well, let's kick off with their support for Pride. On page 70 of our report, CEO Joe Vorry is photographed in front of a Pride liveried lorry. Genuit were sponsors of the Doncaster and Caerphilly Pride events, and some extracts from the report. I was so proud to represent Genuit and Polypipe Building Products at Doncaster Pride. The atmosphere was incredible, joyful, welcoming, and full of energy. Marching with our pride-wrapped lorry and celebrating with the crowd made me feel truly connected to our purpose. I'll definitely be back next year, and I hope even more of you join in. That's from Rosie James, who is a graduate of general management. Pride, we believe in everyone deserves to feel safe, respected, and valued, particularly in the workplace. Creating an environment free from fear of judgment is fundamental to our commitment to our people. Genuit Group and Polypipe Building Products were proud headline sponsors at Doncaster Pride this year. Our rainbow liveried lorry took pride of place in the parade as colleagues from our Doncaster sites joined the celebrations, standing together with the local community. It was a visible demonstration of our commitment to inclusion and allyship. During the event, Joe Vorry, our CEO, spoke passionately about why pride matters to us as a business, reinforcing the importance we place on creating environments where people can be themselves and feel a true sense of belonging. Moments like these reflect our culture in action. It is vital that our colleagues know they work for a business that supports them. Inclusion is not just something we talk about, it is something we actively champion every day. Why colleague involvement in our D&I networks matters Our D&I networks are central in creating a workplace where everyone feels they belong. Greater involvement brings more voices, lived experiences, and perspectives into the conversation, helping us better understand our people and shape initiatives that reflect real needs. Visible, active networks also foster connection and psychological safety, reinforcing that inclusion matters to everyone and that difference is genuinely valued. It says, looking ahead, during 2026, we want to increase participation in our D&I networks, encouraging more colleagues to get involved as members, allies, and advocates. By doing this, we will further embed inclusion into everyday working life, strengthen our culture and performance, and ensure our networks continue to provide meaningful insight and challenge, supporting inclusive, shared progress across the group. Frankly, Paul, I don't think this is the role of a business. Just stick to the business. Pull back on the resource, and the money saved can go into wages and dividends. And if any genuine staff wish to attend under their own volition and in their own time, then fine. But all of the above, in my opinion, is covered, quite rightly, by the Equality Act of 2010. It's laid down in law. There are 9 areas covered. First, one for us here, Paul: age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion or belief, sex, and sexual orientation. Now, according to Bloomberg, in the US in 2021, following the Black Lives Matter protests, companies listed on the S&P 100 added more than 300,000 jobs. 94% went to people of colour. Now, I would suggest that wasn't a good time for a person not of colour to have been in the job market. But I'll come back to the Equality Act later.
Now, I believe Genuit has a YouTube channel, but it isn't being used to promote the company in the way that you expected it to.
No, ours is a niche offering, Paul, but pleased to say that we've got very healthy traction. Please do help us by liking and subscribing, of course. But it's especially healthy compared to the Genuit channel. They've just 13 subscribers and just 3 videos, okay? So one of the videos is about the Sky Garden case study in 2025. So that's a product offering that lasts 3 minutes and 3 minutes and 50 seconds. But then there's a Genuit Supports Pride trailer lasting 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And then a Genuit Supporting Pride Month 2024, which lasts for 1 hour, 38 minutes and 23 seconds. Now, I've not listened to it all the way through. I reached about 10 minutes when they were discussing the right pronouns to use. Now, as an investor, I think I will be saying the same as an employer. Is this Pride product offering coverage just a little bit out of balance? Equality is covered by law. We need to comply with law, but I do not see why a business has to act as like a vehicle for social engineering. And it's a bit like having a movement based upon encouraging people to drive on the left-hand side of the road. It's covered legally. It's already in place.
Well, I think at this stage we do need to stress that you are not a sort of a homophobe.
No, Paul. I mean, alas, when you discuss this subject, there's an element of then having to defend your stance. And, one of my best pals is gay. He's a real person. He's not a fabrication. And we've been friends for about 15 years. I won't mention his name, not for embarrassment, but his own personal matters are a private thing for him to share as he sees fit. And yeah, he's gay, but it's not the thing that defines him. And, his sexuality arises at times during our conversation, as does mine, but it's way, way down the topics of conversation that we have. And he, like I, finds it tiresome that we're increasingly being pigeonholed into whatever category we fit. And now we're having to be seen as different rather than the shared values that we have. And community comes from what we have in common. That's where the word comes from. And I'll suggest that a community thrives from having shared values that act as a cohesive unifier. Birds of a feather flock together. But we appear to be going through this like almost Frankenstein experiment where we actively want people to have as little in common, as little common ground as possible. So What are your thoughts?
Well, Keir Starmer recently said that diversity is our strength and we all need to unite in a common goal. So Keir wants all the people from all the incompatible cultures that have been shoehorned into the UK to stop disagreeing, hold hands, and start thinking exactly the same way about everything. And I really thought he was going to close his speech with the song from the Coca-Cola advert, "I'd like to teach the world to sing."
Right, well, on page 21, Genuit had a calendar of events. In March, they had International Women's Day events. June was Fairness, Inclusion and Respect Workshop with Supply Chain Sustainability School. August, sponsor of Doncaster and Caerphilly Pride events, which we mentioned. September, National Inclusion Week, partnership between Polypipe Building Products and Harrison College. They've launched their 5 D&I colleague networks. In October was menopause activity in our network, a new guide to help leaders approach the topic. They also celebrated Black History Month with internal and online content. In November, it was Movember fundraising, D&I policy update, working with our colleague network chairs. And in December, it was a Christmas donation drive with Crash. And there was a partnership with with Change 100, which was paid summer internship program.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are those 5 new D&I networks?
Right, well, Reach, the first one, Reach, it says, we're committed to fostering open dialogue and education around ethnicity, encouraging representation and inclusion at every level of the organisation. We'll challenge bias, celebrate diverse cultures, and help shape inclusive policies that reflect and respect the richness of our workforce. And there's Smile. We're committed to removing barriers and unlocking the untapped talent and unique perspectives of disabled colleagues. Through social mobility initiatives and inclusive practices, we'll create opportunities for underrepresented groups and make Genuit a great place to work, whatever your needs. Then there's Empower Her. We're here to celebrate, empower, and support the brilliant women across our organisation by challenging barriers and biases, sharing insights and best practice, and influencing policy. Will promote equity and create a workplace where everyone can thrive. The Shed is a safe and supportive community where men feel empowered to seek help, share experiences, and prioritise self-care without judgment. Through open conversations and awareness raising, we're working to break down stigma and make mental health a topic everyone can talk about. And then there's Queer Collective. This is a safe and welcoming space for LGBTQ plus colleagues and allies. It sounds like it's a war, doesn't it, allies? It's a place to learn, celebrate, connect, and share experiences. Together, we'll support events, initiatives, and moments that matter, like Pride and other key dates throughout the year. And there's more and more content, Paul, quotes from employees, the surveys, scores, etc. I did give my feedback that not just the D&I, but the report at 224 pages is a pretty turgid read. And with all these initiatives, groups, surveys, etc., it's not getting more product out of the door. And the feedback from me as a private investor is that these are things that I have little interest in and doubt most other private investors have.
Now, you also have some comments about the composition of the board of directors.
Yeah, we turn now to governance on page 97, and it says highlights. Board meetings attendance, 100%. Board independence, 71%. Average age, 57.6. Site visits, 4. And then it says ethnicity, 1 of 7. 1 of 7 members. Now, my understanding is that should read 7 of 7, as surely everybody has an ethnicity. And I think the 1 relates to board member Shatish Dasani. But here I go again, just wanting a level playing field. And it appears that the white race does not count. But what I want this doing away with altogether. There's just one race, the human race. Now, I've got a friend down at the cricket club. Again, I'll leave him anonymous. But he is another real person. He's from Guyana. He's black. He doesn't describe himself as a person of colour. I enjoy his company and our conversations, and he, like I, he's just fed up of, well, diversity fatigue, and how they're trying to divide us, and this, social lecturing that we receive through the media. Another of my teammates just turned 18. He's mixed race, really nice lad. I asked him about DEI last week, and without hesitation, he said it was utter rubbish. He actually used stronger language. And that people should be selected purely on merit, and he's a really bright number. He wants a career in accountancy, and I'll tell you this: he won't need any artificial help, I can assure you. And closer to home, my very own grandson has mixed ethnicity, but we don't see this as a badge. I hope we can move beyond all this when he enters the workplace and just be judged on his merits. And he's certainly a bright boy. He's just turned 1, and I'm sure he'll have a career in escapology, as I've seen how he tries to get out of his playpen. But, when I have to fill in my ethnicity in a format, I think, why? Other than it's like some underlying health risks that affect certain people from certain societies.
Okay. Let's now turn to the issue of sex.
Yeah, I know that's one of your favourite subjects, Paul. Yeah. At the AGM, I was introduced to Dr. Britta Geeson. She's an ed, and she was elected to the board from an all-female shortlist of 6. Now, I raised this point that, in my opinion, this was illegal and in contravention of the aforementioned Equality Act. And surely laws are there for a reason. And it was also said that Britta brought diversity as she's German. Now, on that, I have serious doubts as to the limits of how a diverse group can perform better than a homogenous one. And I would put speaking a common language as a good start, but the pyramids are a monumental engineering and architectural achievement. And now, how much better would they have been if we'd had to ship a group of lads and lasses over from Lancashire? I don't think it would have been much better. Now, one day, Paul, we might just have a challenge where you and I each have a group to build a raft to get us off this island. We'll have a diverse one and an homogenous one, and let's just see who gets away first. And I hope that I've got somebody who's from Harland and Wolff. I just want the best, whatever their profile, not through a quota system that has frictional costs in administering. Now, the England football team is disproportionately represented by black players because, do you know why? They're the best that we have. And over the years, there have been a number of jobs I've applied for and been unsuccessful. And I've got a sneaking suspicion why this is, and I'll share it with you now, that there was somebody better qualified for the position than me. Paul, anything to add?
Well, I think when a company is under no legal obligation to have a DEI-based hiring policy, they can offer no tangible evidence of it improving anything, and the business is underperforming, then yes, I agree, shareholders are right to be concerned. I mean, directors are supposed to be committed to making the company profitable, not virtue signalling. However, I suspect that the board will disagree with that. What feedback did you get from them?
Well, the chair, Kevin Boyd, said that the board need to hit the target set out by the FCA targets. However, I counted that they don't. There are 2 choices set down by the FCA: comply or explain. And I would go with the explain. We picked the outstanding candidate. And again, I'm going to reiterate this: I simply want the best. What do you want?
Well, you have my sympathies with all of this, but to a great degree, Genuit's hands are tied, aren't they?
Yeah, I have to concede to a degree on that, Paul. I did have a look at the substantial shareholders. Again, this is a 650 million cap company, and you get a number of institutions. So it impacts asset management. They've got 6.24%, Aviva 5.83%, Wellington, they've got 5.81%. They're based in Boston. M&G 4.98%, Vanguard 4%. Lansdowne Partners, 3.98%. FIL Investment, 3.54%. BlackRock, 2.96%. Aegon, 2.8%. And Aberdeen, 1.79%. These are all institutions. So that's about, well, it is 41.9%. Yahoo Finance suggests that upwards of 83% of the shares are held by institutions. So DEI, ESG, sustainability, these are all very important to these bodies. And I suppose he who pays the piper calls the tune, and it's a little bit sad to hear, but it's probably not private investor Mark Atkinson.
Now, since we started this podcast, I can see that you've had some credible successes in upholding shareholder rights. But I think you may have bitten off more than you can chew with this topic. Are there perhaps not more realistic fights for you to take up?
Like I say, I concede I have a battle on my hands, but I think it's an honourable battle. Just because I'm in a minority, it doesn't mean that I don't have a voice and an opinion. And here we have the paradox. I speak with many private investors. They're not interested in the aforementioned ESG, DEI, and assured us, they have a voice and a vote with direct investments. But these same people invest in funds, pensions, etc., that buy units, and all of a sudden, you have to buy into the ethics of the fund, whether you agree or not. And I would suggest it is very much detached. The fund's ethos and ethics are detached from that of the consumer and what they want, and they belong to a collective body. I would say, it's the we know best body who force their policies onto the rest of us, and we've got to lap it up. I'll throw in the BBC, other legacy mainstream media, judges, local authorities, universities and academia.
Okay, so the environment does seem to be changing a little bit with regard to DEI. Have you seen any tangible evidence of pushback?
Yeah, I read an article from Barrett Kohler from the 1st of May 2026, and it gave examples of several businesses that have faced proposals from investors to roll back or abolish their DEI programs, but all were voted against comprehensively. So there's Costco, Apple, Pinterest, Microsoft, Goldman Sachs, Visa, Disney, and Coca-Cola. And one of the problems private investors have is how, as a collective, how disorganized they are. There's a lot of inertia. They're not coordinated. They don't necessarily know who fellow shareholders are. Voting is very low, and you're up against that institutional block vote.
You have said, however, that all is not lost, and that some companies are finally coming to their senses, as you put it.
Yeah, well, upon the inauguration of Donald Trump, he signed a number of executive orders effectively ending DEI within the federal government. And following his election, companies such as McDonald's, Walmart, Meta, Boeing, Google, Accenture have ended or scaled back their programs. And there are many more if you search the internet. And probably more significantly, one of those pushing DEI the hardest, BlackRock, the US largest asset manager, ended their diversity goals, and they are one of those significant shareholders in Genuit, and they now have a talent and culture department. And I believe there's a lot of fear that it can be identified as illegal, as I've said, and there will be a slew of legal actions against companies. So there is some room for optimism. We often seem to follow the US, and it may take some time, but I'd like to think we're in with a fighting chance that common sense will prevail.
Right, now, this is all very interesting. But here's the $6 million question. Has your experience of Genuit's DEI policies influenced your opinion about the company being a good investment?
Yes. It's not the only criteria for my consideration, but it's an added one. I'm not currently looking to sell. Would have to see some what I would call remedial action before committing further capital. It has hit my confidence in them, and I think there are better options available within the portfolio. And I always think, if there are thousands of businesses in the world, why should I choose this one? But Paul, I'm unsure if you would like to see the demise of DEI, as despite your lack of height, your age, lack of coordination, speed, agility, and mobility, you've always held out ambitions to play basketball for the LA Lakers. What are your thoughts?
Right, thank you for that. Well, yes, most basketball players are tall and athletic, and introducing pensioners like me to a team would probably damage performance. However, pensioners are seriously underrepresented in that sport, so maybe some advocates of DEI will step in and force the Lakers to give me a shot. So, I think that kind of wraps it up. Do you think we've upset enough people?
I hope so.
All right, then. So, I think it's time that we do your personal rant. This aspect of life that causes you discord aside from the world of investing. What have you got for us this time, Mark?
Right. Well, you might be able to relate to this one. I travel around a lot, and you go into the pubs and restaurants and wherever, and our cafes, and I'm going to go with really bad Wi-Fi codes. And they're not generally ones that are printed on a menu, but they're generally on a blackboard, right? Or well, before that, I'll just say, when you say to somebody, "What's the Wi-Fi code?" and they'll say Chrysanthemum Nebuchadnezzar, and you think, forget it, I won't go with that. But the ones on the blackboard are they're very badly written. You don't know if they're uppercase or lowercase letters, like C, O, S, V, W, X, and Z. There's generally an O or a zero in there. You don't know if it's an O or a zero. There might be a full stop at the end or an exclamation mark. You don't know if that's part of the Wi-Fi code. I mean, sometimes when you go into a pub and they just say red line, all lowercase 2026, you think, oh, great. But yeah, just really badly thought out Wi-Fi codes. What about yourself, Paul?
No, I hadn't. I haven't prepared. I never prepare one. I just want to see what you have to say, basically. Right. Well, that's kind of pretty much wrapped it up. Thank you very much indeed for your input on that topic, and it is a contentious topic. I agree, but that's what we're here for. And for all of you out there, if you'd like to like and subscribe, we would be very grateful. At the moment, we're coming up very close to our 1,000 subscribers, so if you can help tip us over the edge, that would be fantastic. And in the meantime, thanks for listening.